Welcome to the ultimate SuperCoach and Fantasy Sports Show. You are now listening to the Insight Fantasy Sports Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Insight Podcast Network NRL show. It's the countdown show. It's question and answers from you guys watching, just here to have a chat, have a tin, and just look at the week ahead. Maybe make those last-minute decisions before the game starts in an hour. We are brought to you by the Standard Squeeze, helping you drink responsibly. I'm the SuperCoach Mattrix, flying solo again. Braino's still crook. I see him in the comments already asking the hard questions. I don't know how I'm going to help him when he's about 5,000 ranks in front of me, but I'll definitely try and help. So tonight we have the Panthers and Manly, and it looks like Panthers are going in extremely short favourites. A big question I've been getting is whether you play Ruben Garrick or not. I would be doing my very best to sit Ruben Garrick this week. Let's have a look at what fullbacks have done against the Panthers in other weeks. And realistically, you should be trying to sit him this week. I don't think Ruben Garrick's a sell. Like Manly plays, I think, the Bulldogs and the Tigers the last 2 weeks. I think you have to hold him. But if you can afford it, sit him on the bench. Try and just, if I could sit him in the bench, I'd play Meaney over him. I'd play Manu over him. I'd play Johnson over him. Look, I wish that it was a bit more, I suppose, late mail, and maybe I could play Munro this week. The plan was for me to play Munro and sit Garrick, with Charnze Nicoll-Klokstad being, I suppose, out this week, possibly out next week. I am forced to play Ruben Garrick. I think that Ruben Garrick's bases even against somebody like the Panthers is about that 45 mark, which I'll take against the Panthers, to be honest. Charnze Nicoll-Klokstad, I am electing to keep this week, which is a bit of a sore point with me. I've only got 2 trades left. I don't have a lot of other choices there. Braino's asked a question, and this was a big question for me, and it really helped with Luai being named out. I am going to VC Cleary, and let's have a look at his last 5 games at Brookvale, and I've prepared this earlier. He's had scores of 105, 64, 97, 138, and 103, which with an average of 101.5. Now, that's at Brookvale, and most years Manly aren't this bad. So I expect Cleary to have an absolute cracker tonight. Realistically, if he goes 130 plus, I might even be looking to loop him. Captain-wise, again, I am doubling down on Latrell Mitchell. So Latrell Mitchell cost me about 100 points. I've last minute went Kalen Ponga to Latrell Mitchell captain, and I'm going to double down on it, especially against the Dragons, which I think are poor. I think that that Souths will come back. I think that Souths will have a little bit more pep in their step. Latrell's another week back. This is going to be his 3rd week back. They didn't look themselves last week. Actually, the Sharks also looked pretty good last week. I'm not expecting the Dragons to do that. Realistically, I am expecting Latrell to have a huge one, and he is in my team, even if it means not captaining Ponga against the Bulldogs. Ponga could even get an early shower against the Bulldogs, to be completely honest, because 74% of people are captaining Ponga. The decision to do Latrell has probably been forced by that. I would rather captain Ponga, but I've got some ground to make up. I'm 9,000th. If I'm going to make up that ground, I need a pod captain, and Latrell is the best option on my team. Look, I've even considered straight seeing Cleary tonight. As Luke said in the chat, he's going to demand the ball. He's not going to let Zach Cogger get as involved as Jerome Luai allowed. And realistically, Cleary is going to keep cracking away. Look, I haven't had too many questions come in, so I'm just going to keep chatting away. I think if I was having a punt tonight, it would be to go with Manly with Panthers with a negative 22.5 start tonight. I think that they'll cover that line. Mark in the chat is sticking to his Nico VC and C on Cam Munster. Just has a feeling. He has Cleary, but it's Thursday. I think Nico's going to have a huge one. And if not for this matchup, I had my plans of vice captaining Nico Hines, expecting people to go Cleary. But when Jerome Luai was named out, I quickly pivoted, especially because it's only vice captain. If it was the captain and everybody was captaining Cleary, then I probably would have foregone it to go with something a little bit more poddish. But realistically, when it comes to vice captains, Cleary's going to be as safe as houses there. Brain's mentioning, should people in important matchups for head-to-head comps assess their uncommon players for their matchups and decide captain's Saturday based on whether they're behind or not? Yes. But if you are the team that is in front coming Saturday, I think you stick your ground and go Kalen Ponga, because that is I suppose, the best option. Let people do what I have to do. I'm down and out. I've moved down 4,500 spots that I'm trying to make up this week. Realistically, I am going against the grain of Kalen Ponga. If you're first, the other team's second, you're 100 points up, or you're tie coming into Saturday, I would just keep my seat on Ponga and let somebody else make that pod captain choice. So yes, it's right if you're the guy that's behind, but if you're the guy that's on top, stand your ground. Make sure that you have Kalen Ponga as your captain. Adam's mentioning Garrick to Gagai decent. Was going off for the higher ceiling, but feels he gets rested sometime. Down to 3 trades. Look, if I could have gone Garrick to To'o, I would have done it. If I could have went C and K to To'o, I would have done it even quicker. But realistically, do you really think that the Panthers have had all these guys after Teamless Tuesday get injured? I'm going to say that they don't, and they're just starting to rest their players. They're just starting to prepare for this run home. Maybe if the Broncos keep winning, they do need to play all their guys round 27. But I think maybe, especially in some of these easier matchups, you might see Brian To'o, who's had an Origin series, who's had a big year. He played in the internationals coming into this season. I think we might see him starting to get rested, and Gagai definitely won't get rested because the Knights need to push for the top 8. I like Gagai. I like Dom Young. I, of course, like Marju, even though I thought that he looked a little underdone last week. Yeah, I really like Garrick to Gagai if I had 3 trades, and if you can do it. Gutho to To'o or Latrell? I would go Latrell there, mate. I love To'o. I love bringing in To'o. But realistically, with the upside of Latrell every week, they both... I think To'o probably gets a rest one of these last 3 games, so I'm not worried about games played. I would go Gutho to Mitchell, especially if you're going to move Gutho, you probably need to move him this week with that matchup against the Broncos. Fullbacks haven't been scoring very well against the Broncos. Brain was mentioning Guru prepare to rest their players round 27 from Ivan. Yeah, so To'o's going to get a rest at some stage. There we go. They don't need the minor premiership. They win every year at the moment. Yeah. Terry King has mentioned that he has 2 trades left. Thinking of selling Mitchell Moses for 735. Who do I think that he buys in second row forward or center wing? Thinking of selling Mitchell Moses. I don't know. Just pop in the chat. We've got a little bit of time tonight, Terry. Pop into the chat and just type in your second row forwards and your centers. And I will, I suppose, spend that cash and see what that other one needs to be. Look, using your duels, just pop in there, see what you think, and I will come back to that one in a minute. Mark is asking whether his last reserve needs to be Billy Smith, Schuster, or Eli Katoa. Look, where are we? With the... I would play Eli Katoa against the Canberra Raiders out of those, mate. Get Eli Katoa in. I'm definitely not even considering Schuster against the Panthers. Look, Billy Smith is like rolling the dice. I wouldn't have played Billy Smith last week and he got 100. So I suppose it depends how much ground you need to make up. The centers aren't particularly defensive for the Dolphins, so he could get a good matchup there. But I do think Eli Katoa against the Raiders is the play. All right. I am going to play Isaiah Papali'i over Hudson Young this week. Again, I think Melbourne come on strong this last portion of the year. I think that West Tigers don't have, I suppose, a lot to lose. They are playing New Zealand. They are good. But IPAP's just rattled off a few really good scores the last couple of weeks. He's got a 3-round average of 56. He's got a 5-round average of 54. Hudson Young does have a 40 in him. And I think 50 is IPAP's floor. Hudson Young is one of those try-scoring blokes. Hudson Young is going to score his hundreds by scoring a double. Isaiah Papali'i is going to get 50. I'm taking some risks this week, but it's not going to be in my second row. It's going to be risks by playing blokes like Nick Meaney. It's going to be risks by captaining Latrell Mitchell. I have to play Reed Marnie this week at hooker, but he sort of has shown that he can score a 70 or 80 a lot of other weeks. So, that'll be good. Mark says we're on the money with Panthers resting disguised as injury for sure. It does seem like they're just trying not to get a fine from the NRL. It just doesn't come on like this. When you've got an easier matchup, there is just a lot of, restings right at this end time of the year. It's going to happen. Luke's mentioning that surely C&K is a hold. He's a pod now. I do agree with you that he is a pod. I'm just worried that after this being... he's had HIA concerns earlier on in the year. That's when a lot of people popped on, which turned him into a pod. Maybe he turns a little bit more into a super pod. But, look, there's a chance he doesn't play next week either, which is my main concern about holding C&K. Will's popped on. Appreciate you popping on again, Will. He's got 2 trades left. Ben Murdoch-Masila to enough. Well, I'm surprised that you've still got Ben Murdoch-Masila. And C&K to To'o or straight swap C&K to Gagai. I've been talked around. I was spruiking Teddy or To'o basically for... have a look at the way that the Roosters... remaining games. I actually really like them as well, but I think C&K to Gagai is better, especially with 6 trades left. C&K to Gagai, and then you save the extra trade as well. The last couple of weeks could be absolute mayhem, and having 5 trades left, or maybe 4 trades if you can find another trade this week. I would get Gagai in. I really like his matchup against the Titans. Arson Dragon has popped on. Good to see you, mate. Tossing up, selling C&K. Hate these HIAs. I really wish that the Warriors were a little bit more transparent about maybe where he was, maybe, with where they're sitting on the table, whether they would risk him or anything like that. It hasn't happened, and maybe they'll interview Andrew Webster coming into this game, maybe Channel 9 or something. We're going to be looking for that information. I'll be posting on my Twitter as soon as I hear anything, mate. Going into fullbacks, I really like Teddy's matchup this week, and I really like the Roosters draw. Coming into these last 3 games. I'm just going to find it here and get it up. And I know this doesn't make for great viewing, but when we go to the draw, Roosters this week are playing the 14th place Dolphins. They go into round 25 playing the Parramatta Eels, which they are ninth, but they are leaking a lot of points. Roosters then go and play 5:30 Saturday afternoon at home against the West Tigers. It doesn't get much better than that. And the Roosters are in a position where they could maybe be pushing for the 8th, and then they'll be playing the Rabbitohs trying to steamroll them over. I do really think that Teddy could have maybe a 3-round average of 80 coming into these last couple games. Brain's mentioning with CNK, it's hard to see them risking him when they're sitting comfortably in the top 4. I do think this too, and he's not going to be able to pop in, and they're not going to get the opportunity to make the top 2, I think, and get that extra home game, which home game advantages probably mean more to the Warriors than any other team in our comp. Mark, back on again. Who would I trade Gutho to? Fullback, 5/8, centre wing, or second row forward? I would trade Gutho to James Tedesco or Latrell Mitchell, mate. I think that you can make a little bit of money on either of them. I just spoke about that Roosters draw. They don't have a bye that Latrell has, and I suppose it depends who your other fullback is, but I would go Gutho to Tedesco if I were you, mate. Terry's mentioning Teddy. Oh, there you go. That his centre wings are To'o, Garrick, Asako, Meany, Critter, Ramian. His second row forwards are. So, yeah, you'd be looking to solidify that second row forward if I were you. And you're looking at bringing in somebody in the second row forward. So, give me a sec. I'll have a bit of a look. When you go into second row forward, and again, sorry, it doesn't make for great viewing. We've got Jermaine Hopgood, we've got Fafita, we've got Nickera, we've got Bryce Cartwright, we've got Paddy Carrigan, and we've got Scott Sorensen. Oh man, if Olakau'atu wasn't playing the Panthers this week, that's probably the one that I would go. If you have the money, I would go to Tino Fa'asumalahi and have a crack there. I think that he's going to be a pod these last 3 games. What are we at? We're at round 24. So Titans are playing the Sharks, not the defensive powerhouse. They've honestly never been a defensive powerhouse. The Titans are also playing the Panthers. But when you come to, I suppose, Tino's position, he's going to be putting in a lot of work. He's going to get those base stats, and that's something I'm not worried about. He's going to be playing the Storm, and the Titans are playing the Doggies in the last game of the year, which they're going to want to show to their fans. They're going to try and sell some tickets. I would try and get Tino in, man. He's only got 735,000. All right, let me go back. I know this is going to be interesting. Go Campbell Graham. So Campbell Graham has dropped a lot in cash, and that side that he's playing on has let in nearly the most amount of tries in the whole comp. Yeah, I really like bringing in Campbell Graham. He's only 585K. He's going to be a little bit of a pod due to the fact that he's got 106 break even, and he's coming off a poor 3-round average of 49. Keep in mind, he scored 145 earlier on in the year, and he does have the Dragons this week on that weak side. So Dragons, Knights, Roosters. I kind of like Campbell Graham, man. You don't have too many. Having a look at your team, you actually don't have too many Rabbitohs. A lot of us have a heap of Rabbitohs. Like I've got, when I have a look at my team, I have Cody Walker, I have Latrell Mitchell. A lot of people have Damien Cook. Some people in their second row, and you don't either, and that's another option, have Cam Murray. But yeah, Cam Murray, Campbell Graham. But I'm leaning towards Campbell Graham with that juicy matchup on that side against the Dragons this week. Obviously, you're going to have to put the reserve on him. But yeah, maybe bring the big dog in. Bring in Campbell Graham. I'm excited about that. Just waiting to see if there's any more questions come in. I'm currently doing an NFL draft in the background as well. Here at Insight Fantasy Sports, we've been covering most sports. So we currently have FPL competitions. We've got some NFL competitions. And of course, that's up again in another few weeks. On our Discord, we, of course, have been chatting about the new NBL Supercoach. And we're going to be heading that up here at Insight Fantasy Sports as well. We're finishing up our year with NRL and AFL. And we're starting to ramp up our NBA product with Matty G over at Insight NBA. I'm actually going to do a podcast with him tonight that might roll out a bit later on in the week. I had one that premiered at 5:30 today, looking at the Boston Celtics. And yeah, we're just really excited about what's happening at NBA. And we're going to be producing daily content at the Insight Podcast Network for NBA. So get on. We're going to start running some competitions as well. Yeah, even if you're a new NBA fan, have a listen. We're going to be running through the stats. We're going to be telling you who to pick in your drafts, and excited to have a crack there. Excellent. We have some more matchup questions. So To'o Harris, Anthony Daniel has mentioned To'o Harris against the West Tigers being that ball player with C&K being out. I think that he could have an absolute cracker. I think that it's madness. There's been some guys sitting To'o this week. After how To'o played last week, if he didn't have those couple of weeks, I would say To'o would have been one of the most brought in players. I know he had that 35, but he had injury. They were up. They were sitting him down. He got an early shower the game after. He's coming off a bye. Look, if he didn't have that little injury cloud 4 weeks ago, I would say that To'o would have been one of the most brought in guys. It's absolute madness not playing To'o. Either bring him in or make sure that you play him, Anthony. I think that you'll be rewarded this week. Just being a ball player. They're going to be playing downhill against the West Tigers. I'm excited to see it. Al here has to play Nickera, Bateman, or Preston. Which two? Now, I haven't thought too much about Preston, but I don't actually hate it against the Newcastle Knights. I probably wouldn't be playing Johnny Bateman this week against New Zealand, even though I'm playing IPAP, so you can call me a hypocrite if you want. I am going to be playing Britton Nickera against the Titans, though. But honestly, I wonder if with your center wings, if you've got the opportunity to sit Garrick and maybe get one of those other blokes in there, if your teams look very similar to a lot of ours. A lot of players have Ty Munro, which is sort of cuckolded us a little bit this week. But out of those three, I would play Nickera, and I wouldn't be too disappointed about playing Preston this week if I had to. But Nickera is the obvious choice. Mark got some kind words there. Appreciate it, mate. Last reserve spot, JMK, Preston, or Hopgood. Mate, you must have a killer team if you are deciding between JMK or Hopgood there. Again, like I mentioned, I really like Preston, but I would be playing Jeremy Marshall-King against the Sydney Roosters. Jeremy Marshall-King has been a little bit matchup proof. He's been fantastic all year, and I think that he would be in a lot of other teams if he just stayed healthy. He's got a 3-round average of nearly 70. You can't look past Jeremy Marshall-King there. Adam S., thanks for popping on again, mate. His last reserve, Wade Egan, Corey Horsburgh, or Britton Nickera. I did him good with To'o last week. Look, yeah, realistically, I just can't look past To'o. He's a workhorse. He is that ball player. C&K going down really helped him. I think that he's going to be getting, I suppose, Tuapiki got a, and correct me if I'm wrong, if I've pronounced that wrong, but he has been practicing all week, which might affect it a little bit. But To'o, again, like Luke said, even strapped like a mummy. We love him. Look, I would be going Nickera or Wade Egan there. I actually like like Nickera, get Nickera in your team. But if you're looking for that pod, I suppose Wade Egan's a really good play there. Look, I decided to play Wade in draft this week. I'm really hoping that he helps me out there. But look, you're sitting there with Britton Nickera. Let's not overthink it. Let's not try and outthink the room. Britton Nickera against the Titans. Let's do it. Just seeing if any other questions come in. I am going to the Broncos game tomorrow. So shout out, send in your beer selfies. I will be sending plenty in return on Twitter at SC_Mattrix. Just had a nice little short show tonight. Appreciate you all popping on with me. You are listening to the Insight Podcast Network. Enjoy the footy tonight, guys. Cheerio.